Hello, everyone. Hello, thank you for coming again to LiveRead number 13, I think it is. So show of hands, who's been here before, so I know who I'm talking to. Oh, goodness me. Thank you for coming again. By the way, and Alex, our insider, who we're going to clap for in a second, wanted to know how many of you were writers. I'm curious. How many are writers? There you are. Does that help? Excellent. So welcome. First, we want to welcome our special guest, Alex Walden from Bloom Media. Thank you for coming, Alex. He's over there in the corner. He is a very nice man, and he will have lots of stories about working with George Clooney later on, so save your questions. So we all know what happens, basically, but for those who don't, we are going to hear two scripts tonight, 30 pages of each. They have been selected as the winners from our competition that we held this time. And firstly, I'd like to congratulate our two winners. We have Mark over there. Mark, congratulations. And Tony down here, congratulations. Now, full disclosure, if you're a keen follower of LiveRead LA's website, and I know you all are, LiveRead number 2 was won by Tony. And this is his second time as a winner. And before you think that he pays us, which we wish he would, Tony has taken to entering under fake names. And so technically the winner tonight is Jean Canada. So congratulations to Jean. Yay! So the two scripts we picked, we're now going to hear delightful actors read 30 pages of each, and then at the conclusion, me, Alex, and the writer will get on stage and we'll give some feedback, and then we're going to give you guys an opportunity to give some feedback. The reason why we want you here, not just entering the competition, is that there is something to be gained by listening to 30 pages of someone else's script. It gives you an opportunity to really listen to see what's working and what's not working, because I guarantee you, there are good things and bad things in these scripts that you have probably done yourselves. So the trick is to try and listen for that, to try and see, well, what would I do to make it better? Or what are they doing that I should learn from in my scripts? There is something to be gained from this. So that's why we're really pleased that you're here, and that's why we exist, really. So I'll shut up. At the end of the two scripts, by the way, we will do a Q&A. Alex and I will have a chat, and I'll take some questions from you guys too, time permitting. So again, George Clooney questions, that's the time. So thank you all for coming, and let's go with the first script.
The Shadow of Dharma by Mark Perlick. Interior, Brianna's house, living room, day. Brianna, 25, a paraplegic, sits in a wheelchair. She wears a t-shirt with a picture of the Hindu god Shiva in a dance pose. Stephanie, 8, highly intelligent, socially inept, sits on the couch listening intently to Brianna, her half-sister. Brianna closes her eyes and leans back in her chair as she speaks with quiet reverence.
There was a time, a place where all beings were enlightened, one with the universe, the creative spirit.
Where was that?
Anywhere, everywhere. It was the golden age. People could do things that we can't even dream of.
Like what?
Anything they envisioned. All people were enlightened masters back then.
Interesting.
The thing is, we too can do anything we envision as well, but we've been taught to fear our power.
When was this?
Oh, thousands of years ago during the last ice age.
So they were probably hunter-gatherers of the Upper Paleolithic.
Oh no, they were much more than that, much more.
But the archaeological consensus is that these people didn't even have agriculture back then.
Stephanie, trust me, archaeologists don't know everything.
And you think we all can do anything we envision?
If one truly believes, or rather truly knows, they can.
Could you envision walking again?
Of course.
Edward, 50, sharply dressed in a suit, enters from the front door with a briefcase and heads for the kitchen. He returns with a beer and sits on the couch.
It's through meditation that we open up the powers of the cities.
The cities are mythological superpowers, they're not real.
Brianna and Stephanie get louder as they try to make their point.
They're not mythological. This knowledge was handed
These
down.
stories were made up to create a social
Made
structure.
up?
It
These
gave people
stories
something
are
to believe
factual
in. Science is
accounts
disproof.
by
All of this
eyewitnesses. The
paranormal thing.
enlightened
Hey,
master.
I've got work to do and I need quiet.
Stephanie reluctantly goes upstairs to her room. Brianna wheels over to a curio cabinet containing a small altar with statuettes of 7 Hindu deities: Ganesh, Shiva, Kali, Durga, Lakshmi, Vishnu, and Krishna. She opens the cabinet and lights a stick of incense as Edward dials his phone.
Yep, it's Edward. I'm on now. Thanks.
He hangs up and opens his briefcase.
Brianna, when's the Veterans Administration gonna get you that van?
I think next week.
I mean, you can't just mope around here all day playing with your Hindu action figures.
They're not action figures. They're each a symbol, an aspect of our spiritual nature.
I don't know why you're so obsessed with that stuff.
Because this is the real world.
And when are you going to start school so you can get a decent job?
He dials his phone.
I will when I'm healed, and
He holds up his hand to silence her.
Hello? Is this Mrs. June Shepard of 2430 Westwood? Well, Mrs. Shepard, I have some fantastic news for you. You've just won a trip for two to Acapulco.
He motions Brianna to leave the room.
No, don't hang up, Mrs. Shepard, because you are definitely going to Acapulco. Oh, you didn't enter any contest?
Edward looks at a paper.
Your granddaughter, Junie, entered your name. Yes, it was indeed very sweet of her. Yeah. Now, this is a 2-ticket package. Yours is totally free. You'll just need to bring someone else at our regular low price of...
Brianna wheels into her bedroom. Interior Brianna's bedroom. Brianna's room is filled with New Age posters and statuettes of various Hindu deities. On the wall is a framed Army Rangers patch. Brianna locks her wheelchair in place. She closes her eyes and focuses intently. She braces her hands on the wheelchair armrests and pushes herself up. She stays as long as she can, then falls back into her chair.
So what's happening?
She turns and sees Stephanie peeking in her room.
look, I need to focus, okay?
Okay, but do you honestly believe you can do this?
Yes, I do.
Because I really don't think
And
that
I
you
can't do anything if someone's interrupting my concentration.
What difference does it make if I watch?
Can I just have some privacy?
Shh, Dad's working right now.
Do you even know what Dad's doing?
Sure, he's selling vacation packages that people supposedly want.
All right, please go away so I can concentrate.
She closes the door.
Precocious brat.
Brianna tries again with a Herculean effort. She pushes herself up as far as her arms can raise her. She then dives for the dresser. Interior Brianna's house, living room.
And all of our free vacation packages require a small handling fee, so...
There's a crash.
Damn it! Oh, no, not you, Mrs. Shepard.
He stands up.
No, please don't hang up, Mrs. Shepard. Shit!
He slams the phone down and runs to Brianna's bedroom. Interior Brianna's bedroom. Brianna and the dresser lie on the floor. Edward picks her off the floor and pushes her back into the wheelchair.
Damn it!
He picks up the dresser and slams the doors closed.
What the hell, Brianna? You can't be doing shit like this. I'm trying to make a living for us and I can't be interrupted.
He slams the door as he exits. Brianna picks up a shopping bag and attaches it to her chair. She puts on a strong face as she exits her room. Exterior Brianna's house, sidewalk ramp day. Brianna descends the ramp from her house onto the sidewalk. She suddenly stops and backs her chair behind a tree. Peering from behind the tree, she watches Matt, 35, working on his motorcycle in his driveway across the street. Matt, handsome, good-natured, whistles to Mozart's 41st Symphony, playing in his garage as he removes the head from his motorcycle engine. Brianna smiles as Matt does a little jig, carrying the motorcycle head into his garage. As soon as he's out of sight, Brianna quickly wheels down the sidewalk away from Matt's house. Interior 7-Eleven day. Anthony, 30, wearing shoulder-length hair and a threadbare Jimi Hendrix t-shirt, leans against the counter drinking a Red Bull as he and clerk page through an American Curves porn magazine. The clerk turns the page and laughs.
Oh my God!
For real?
Brianna rolls in and picks up a few items as they watch quietly laughing. She brings them to the counter where the porn magazine lies open. They suppress their laughter.
Will that be all, ma'am?
Brianna knows they're laughing at her, but chooses to ignore it. She puts some money on the counter as clerk rings up her order. Once she pays and leaves, clerk and Anthony break out laughing.
Oh my God, how would you like a piece of that?
Get it.
Yeah, but you'd like to have her.
So what?
Come on, you know you want her. Pull off those tight little shorts and...
Oh, fuck off.
He starts to leave.
Hey, how about your porn, man?
I ain't paying for that shit.
You take the plastic off, you own it, buddy.
Anthony flips him off as he leaves.
Bastard.
Clerk continues looking through the magazine. Interior Third Eye, Psychic Studio, and Bookshop day. Brianna rolls into the bookshop. Psychic Sila, 50s, wears a violet gown with many adornments. Though superficially she looks the phony psychic, her eyes show something deeper. Sila sits at the counter of her small New Age book and gift shop. She's pleased to see Brianna and stands to greet her.
Ah, Brianna, come in.
Silas sits at a table as Brianna wheels up to her.
I'm sorry, I don't have an appointment.
Ah, I always have time for my favorite.
I'm still having the same problem as before.
As Brianna speaks, Silas closes her eyes as she enters into a trance.
I'm really focusing my mind on my intention, but I just don't seem to be getting anywhere.
Sila, with her eyes closed, holds up her hand to silence Brianna.
Okay. My guides are showing me something.
Brianna takes out a notebook from her wheelchair bag.
They say there's a man. I can't see him, but he's got a good heart.
Man with a good heart.
My guides say he is your soulmate, someone who will join you in this incarnation.
But what about my intention?
It's someone who has waited a very long time for you.
Does my soulmate know I'm in a wheelchair?
It won't matter when he recognizes you from your past lives together.
Great. Could you ask the guides about me walking again? My intentions just are not working.
Yes. They are aware of your intention.
Do they have any suggestions?
They're showing me much fear.
Fear. Fear what?
Something you have to ask yourself.
I don't understand.
She opens her eyes.
Okay, we're done for now.
But didn't the guides have more to say? Can you tell them I'm really not afraid? I was a ranger in the army, so like...
Brianna,
No.
the guides are never wrong.
Honestly, I've been doing everything the guides have asked, and I'm still stuck in this wheelchair.
She looks at Brianna and waits. Brianna hands Sila her credit card, which she scans and hands back to Sila.
Brianna, you don't have to try so hard. You're very powerful.
But it's not working.
It will, okay? I promise you that. It will.
Brianna rolls out the exit. Exterior Brianna's house, day. Brianna rolls up the street sidewalk. She stops and looks around before continuing up to her door, making sure Matt doesn't see her. She wheels up to the mailbox next to the door and retrieves the mail. Brianna flips through the mail.
Hello?
Brianna, startled and embarrassed, drops the mail.
Hello.
Matt. I just moved in across the street.
He helps her pick up the mail.
Yes, I know.
I see you from time to time, but I never had a chance to say hello. I've met your dad and your sister.
Half-sister, Stephanie.
Right.
I suppose you saw me wheeling this old wheelchair up and down the sidewalk.
Yeah, I saw you a few times, but never had a chance to say hello, so hello.
Hello. Again.
It's like, look, I'm having a little housewarming party this Saturday. Why don't you come over?
Oh, I really can't. No, not this weekend. Really sorry. I'll be gone.
Oh, where to?
My aunt. It's her birthday Saturday.
Sure, I understand. Well, it was a pleasure meeting you, Brianna.
Pleasure was all mine.
He starts back to his house as Brianna watches. Halfway, he turns around. Brianna quickly looks away.
Oh, Brianna, Friday. I've invited some friends down to have a happy hour at the Crystal Lounge. Why don't you drop by?
I'll see if I can make it. Sure. Thanks.
Great. Hope to see you there.
He runs across the street back to his house. Brianna goes up the ramp to her house. Stephanie stands at the screen door.
Your aunt's birthday? You sure shut him down.
What am I supposed to do? Hang out with him in a wheelchair?
You're gonna go to the happy hour though. What? Why?
I just don't want to.
You have to get out and socialize. It's not healthy to stay at home all the time.
What does an 8-year-old know about socializing?
I have done some reading on it. This lack of self-confidence is a common issue among the handicapped.
Did you just keep your little nose out of my affairs? And I am not handicapped.
Stephanie looks out the window. Matt is back working on his motorcycle.
Let's go talk to him.
Brianna grabs her as she exits the house.
Damn it, stay out of this.
Let go of me.
Out of sight, Matt, they struggle on the ramp until Brianna's wheelchair falls off the ramp, throwing Brianna and Stephanie to the ground.
Are you okay?
Stephanie turns the wheelchair upright.
Idiot!
Brianna pulls herself back into the wheelchair as Stephanie tries to help.
Why don't you want to talk to me?
Not in this condition am I going to talk to him.
But it doesn't
It
matter.
sure as hell does if you're the one sitting in this chair.
But you should at least talk to
I
him.
said no!
Stephanie heads back into the house. Brianna angrily throws the mail after her.
And keep the hell out of my life, damn it!
She follows Stephanie into the house. Interior Brianna's house. Brianna goes to the bedroom and slams the door shut. Interior Brianna's house, Brianna's bedroom. She locks the door, puts the brakes on her chair, and takes her feet off the pedals. She puts a leg on the bed and removes her shoe. Brianna massages the leg.
Now let's do this, Brianna. No more bullshit.
She stares at her foot.
We're gonna move that toe. Just that one big toe. Nothing else.
She takes a deep breath and stares at the toe.
I ain't joking around here. It's going to happen today.
She clenches her fists and tightens every muscle in her body, willing it to move.
Now, move! Do it!
She tightly closes her eyes and her whole body shakes.
Now!
She opens her eyes. The toe remains immobile. She relaxes and wipes the sweat from her forehead.
This isn't over.
She grabs her leg and is about to pull it off the bed. She stops and screams. Stephanie and Edward run into her room.
Are you okay?
I think it moved!
What are you talking
My
about?
toe! I willed it to move and I think it did. Maybe. Just a little.
The doctor told you about this. Sometimes you may see a small movement and it means nothing. It's just nerves.
No! I willed it to move.
Edward and Stephanie head for the door.
And it really did.
Interior Brianna's house, bathroom night. Brianna, dressed up for a night out, applies makeup in front of a low mirror. She stops and looks at herself in the mirror. Stephanie walks by and stops.
Where are you going?
You're right.
I'm right.
Yes. This time, I need to start going out again.
Is this anything to do with your big toe?
It has everything to do with my big toe. You guys can choose not to believe, but I know in my heart I'll be walking again.
She looks in the mirror.
How do I look?
Okay, I guess.
Thanks.
She puts a handgun in her purse and heads to the door.
Expecting trouble.
Not with this, and don't you tell Dad.
Exterior sidewalk night. Brianna rolls down an empty sidewalk. She enters the Crystal Lounge Bar. Interior Crystal Lounge Bar. The bar is packed full of people dancing to loud music. Brianna can hardly push her way to the door. She keeps tapping people, trying to make her way in. A man steps back, trips on Brianna's wheelchair, and falls in her lap. He looks at her.
Sorry. Hey, let me buy you a drink.
It's okay, I was just leaving.
You sure?
I gotta go.
She finally gets to the exit. Someone holds the door open for her as she leaves. Exterior Crystal Lounge Bar. Brianna rolls through the parking lot, almost getting hit by a car backing up.
Hey!
She finally makes it to a sidewalk and quickly wheels away. Interior Brianna's house, living room night. Brianna wheels into the house, into her bedroom, and shuts and locks the door. Interior Brianna's house, bedroom. She sobs quietly as she gets ready for bed. Interior Stephanie's bedroom, continuous. Stephanie's bedroom is filled with computer gear. On the wall is a display of stock prices continually being updated. Stephanie is busy typing on her laptop. She stops when she hears Brianna's sobs from her room below. She closes her laptop and lies in her bed staring up the ceiling. Her eyes start to tear up. Interior Brianna's house, dining room, morning. Edward, Brianna, and Stephanie sit at the breakfast table.
I was thinking, sometimes a person needs to do what he was born to do. I mean, telemarketing's been good to us, but think about this.
Are you going back to Herbalife?
Oh, no, that's chump change. It's gonna be something bigger, way bigger. I'm starting my own multi-level.
What are you going to sell?
You know how they have this star registry where you can name a star after yourself?
Yeah?
Okay. String theory predicts multiverses, an infinite number of universes. I'm going to give people a chance to name a universe after themselves. Oh? I'm serious here. This is a gold mine nobody ever thought of.
I don't know about this.
It's never been scientifically verified that there are an infinite number of universes and requires a leap of faith just to accept more than one universe.
You know, you're just like your mother. Super bright, Mensa and all.
I didn't know that about her.
Well, you sure didn't get those brains from me. Sad thing is, she never really used those smarts.
What happened?
She liked something a lot more, I guess.
Yeah, I remember her and her daily bottle of Crown Royal.
Edward taps Brianna's arm and shakes his head, mistakenly assuming Stephanie doesn't know what's going on.
See, right after you were born, she left. Man, I loved her so. I do wish you could have known her. Now, your mother. Oh my God, I am sorry, but I will not miss your mother. She made my life miserable. You were only 5 when we divorced. I'm glad it happened before you were too old.
She all that bad?
She was crazy, like totally insane.
How so?
It's crazy mood swings. Sometimes when she was in an upswing, she'd drive 100 miles into the city just for breakfast.
Just for that?
Yeah, oh yeah. Yeah. Oh, and once, the spur of the moment, she bought an airplane. $100,000! Never flew a plane in her life.
Does she still have it?
No, she had to sell it to pay for the sailboat that she was going to use to sail around the world. And when she was in her down mood, I'd sometimes take months to piece her life back together. Isn't it time for school stuff?
It's not a school day, Dad.
Again?
Exterior Brianna's house day. Brianna wheels out to the driveway. She sees Edward working behind the open hood of his classic 65 Chevy SS Malibu.
Dad, I need a ride to my driver's ed class for my new van.
Can't. Car's not running.
But, well, I have to go. You knew that.
Damn it, I can't help it if the car's not running.
Then why don't you get a modern car instead of that old piece of shit?
Matt, who's helping Edward, peeks around the hood.
I can take you.
Brianna's mortified to see Matt after her angry outburst.
It's okay. It's no big deal if I miss.
Yes, it is. Let Matt take it.
Later, exterior Brianna's house driveway continuous. Matt stows the folded wheelchair into the trunk of his car and hops into his car. Stephanie watches from the window. Interior Matt's car. Matt drives out the driveway with Brianna in the passenger seat.
Stephanie told me what happened at the Crystal Lounge. About you not being able to move around in your wheelchair.
It's nothing.
No, it's something, and I'm really sorry. I should have known.
I'm not really into the bar scene anyway, so.
You know, I didn't want you to feel uncomfortable inviting you over to my housewarming party. I mean, you really didn't know me.
That's no problem at all. It's just with my aunt's birthday and all.
Sure. I understand.
Say, Matt, I was thinking, you ever want to go out for a drink? I'm stuck in that house all day.
You're asking me out?
No, 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 not at all. I'm definitely not asking you out.
For sure, we can go have a drink.
Great.
Yeah, it'd be fun.
And this wheelchair is not a problem?
No, not at all.
Brianna points to a building.
This is it.
Matt pulls into the driver's school.
They built a special van for me,
Oh, that's great.
for the time being.
Well, you got other plans?
I'll be back on my feet eventually.
Exterior driver's ed school. Matt hops out of the car and takes Brianna's wheelchair out of the trunk, wheels it next to the car, and opens Brianna's door. He tries to help her.
I have to do this myself.
She puts on the brakes and transfers herself into her wheelchair.
Thank you, Matt. You don't have to wait for me. I'll be here for a while.
I'll call you later.
Let me give you my number.
Stephanie already gave it to me. Later.
Matt leaves as the driver instructor approaches.
You ready to go?
I'm ready.
She wheels up to a van. The driver's side has replaced the gas and brake pedal with hand controls.
Can this be converted back someday?
Yeah, but why?
This may only be temporary.
Okay. Sure, there's a lift in the back.
I can get in this door.
It's kind of difficult.
It's okay, I can do it.
Brianna grabs the steering wheel and the strap above the door and with much struggling manages to pull herself onto the seat as the driving instructor watches. She fastens her seatbelt.
Ready?
Yeah.
He runs around to the other door as Brianna starts the van. Interior Brianna's house, bathroom, evening. Brianna is applying makeup. Stephanie peeks her head in the door.
What?
You went out with Matt?
Well, yes, unless there's someone else you set me up with that I don't know about.
No, just Matt. So far, though, I don't know if you should be rushing into this.
Well, aren't you the cautious one?
No, I just think you need a more active social life.
How do I look?
It's probably good enough.
You hear flattery?
Yeah, I'm just being honest.
The doorbell rings.
Now don't show him you're desperate.
Look, I know what I'm doing, okay?
Okay, let's hope it all works out.
Brianna leaves the bathroom. Interior Brianna's house, living room. Brianna opens the door to a smiling Matt.
Hello there.
Hi, Matt.
Ready to go?
I sure am.
Let's do this.
Brianna starts to wheel out the door.
Hi, Stephanie.
Hi, remember she's a special needs person?
Stephanie!
Good night! Good night!
Interior restaurant night. Brianna and Matt sit at the table sipping wine.
So I plan to enter grad school this year and get my master's in teaching.
You like teaching?
Love it. Almost as much as working on your dad's car and my motorcycle. How about you, Brianna?
I'll be going to school later. This wheelchair thing is new to me. Suppose you're wondering what's happened?
It's okay. You don't have to tell me.
I want to. I was always an athlete. Spent a lot of time in the gym, working out, ran triathlons, obstacle courses, everything.
Wow.
Yeah, anyway, I joined the Army at 21. It was then that they were letting women into Rangers school. I joined the Rangers and was one of the few women to ever finish the training.
She takes a sip of wine to continue her story.
We got shipped to Afghanistan. We were doing an assault on Kabul when our helicopter got shot down.
She slaps her wheelchair armrest.
End of my military career. End of a lot of things, though I was one of the lucky ones on that chopper.
God, Brianna.
Thing is, I'm a fighter, and I'm gonna beat this.
Like,
I'm not gonna let this keep me down.
like how?
I do a lot of reading on Hinduism, and the ancient Hindu cities are about the latent powers in all of us. So with these powers, you could do almost anything. Levitate, manifest any object you desire, live without food, heal anything. Yeah. Maybe I'm going a bit off the deep end.
No. Not at all. There are many mysteries out there.
Exactly.
The waiter returns Matt's credit card and receipt. Anthony, working as a busboy, starts clearing a table behind Brianna. When he sees it's Brianna, he freezes, slowly backs away, and quickly returns to the kitchen. Interior restaurant kitchen. He looks out the kitchen door window at Brianna and Matt. Waitress, 30, moves behind Anthony. You like her?
I can't let her see me like this.
Why?
You know me, I pretty much peaked in high school.
That was your peak?
Take over for me, please.
She sighs and takes Anthony's cart out on the floor as Anthony watches from behind the door.
Well done. Do you want to go first, or do you want me to go first?
No, I think I'd love to
You wanna
go first. Yeah.
Chicken. Firstly, thank you. My big note for this is I think you created really interesting characters and an interesting world, and I keep waiting for something to happen. It feels like there's a lot of setup of everybody, and I kept waiting for like the thing that was going to start the movie. It's a movie, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Inciting incidents?
Yes, well, I don't like to talk in the technical jargon, but sure, yes, the inciting incident. I just kept sort of waiting because I think a lot of the information that is revealed over those 30 pages could be revealed in the context of something happening. Do you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So, like as we're thrust into, I've forgotten her name, Brianna's story. Right. A lot of these details could be filled in because there are a lot of interesting people and a lot of interesting things going on, but it's just like, but why now? Sort of. I know it's a terrible cliche thing to say, but like all of this stuff, we could have picked up this film tomorrow, or sometime next week, or 2 days ago? Do you know what I mean? Like, why are we here? Why are we here right now? What's so important that we have to be visiting on Brianna and her story at this moment? And I kept searching for that when I was listening. I was like, well, what is it? I know that there's the mat across the road, but he's been there a while. He's seen her rolling back and forth. So it's like, what? And I know that she's been going to the things. So everything's been going on for a while. And so, visiting the psychic, trying to walk, all that stuff. So I just sort of kept waiting for the sort of why now moment, because I'm interested in everybody, and in her, I just wanted them to be doing something, not just scene setting. That's my big note. And then the only other note was just the scene in the 7-Eleven was the only one that was sort of jarring out of everything. It felt like it was sort of wedged in there. I wasn't quite sure. I know what it was trying to achieve, but just its sort of feel compared with everything else was sort of that one, and the scene with the dad talking about the two mothers, because in the very next scene he's sort of back to being angry and short. It was like this. It was just a smoothing out kind of thing, like it didn't really. They were my big points. Alex?
There's a number of overlaps, but my first question was wondering whether it was designed as a film rather than another space, if you like.
Yeah, it's written as a screenplay, yeah.
Yeah, but not for the stage, for a screen.
Yeah, it was loosely taken after the Glass Menagerie, and, Matt being the guy and everything. So maybe it's too stagey, possibly, I don't know.
I asked because it felt, and obviously seeing it, hearing it on a stage, we didn't get off the stage much, if you like. The love interest was living across the road, 7-Eleven was a walk away. We had 2 bedrooms, and in the first 30 pages it was the same sort of point of, that event didn't happen. I felt I knew where we were going. By the end, I felt that this was going to develop into more of a love story, or pursue that way, and obviously she's trying to achieve something, remarkable, and something that she's determined in. Right. So wherever that's going to take you, I began to warm to her, but the sort of establishing information that I had was very contained to start with, to get me to warm into the story.
Do you think it starts out too slow, kind of? It's not really too much talking, or maybe?
It felt very, very stagey immediately, if you like. And the fact that opening scene between the two sisters is very, very heavy dialogue. Yeah. Rather than establishing a world that they're in, as in the preamble, didn't give you a great deal of information about where they were, the location, anything like that. I didn't feel like it took a while for me to warm to any of the characters or to the situation they were in.
Okay, yeah.
Fair enough. Would you prefer more of like seeing her go down the street in a wheelchair and visiting different people, or like that when you're talking about an establishing?
I felt clear that she was my lead character. We touched on the dad, who I thought was quite interesting. Yeah. I found the information that he had been married twice, although I completely agree the way that came was, clearly like delivering you with this chunk of information, but I found that quite interesting, that might play out in other parts of the story as well. But yeah, establishing who she is, a more understanding of her. I didn't feel like that. I got a good amount of information 30 pages in, right. But I didn't feel like it came to me. I didn't warm to her as quickly as I feel like I would need to warm to her to warm to the story.
Right.
I'm the parent of an 8-year-old, by the way, who's just actually twins who have just turned 9. You did a pretty good job. I mean, she was more precocious than mine. Maybe mine is stupid. I don't know, but I don't think so.
Definitely, about to turn 9 is definitely stupid. As smart as he's not coming up with any of that.
Yeah, no, neither am I. No, you were right on the cusp, because I really wanted to. Even as I was reading, it was like, no 8-year-old talks like that, but then you kind of just like, well, maybe if she's like super precocious, she could, and especially I know we just had dinner with a friend of another 8-year-old, and I was like, okay, you're a smartass. So it's possible, yeah.
It's more like a Hollywood 8-year-old, I guess.
Right. Yes. Well, that's why we brought in a Hollywood 8-year-old to play. Yeah. But I was really hoping, like, I'm assuming there's a love triangle and there's some walking going on. There's something going on with her, that like that's going to happen. And I was just really hoping that some of that would be in there in the beginning, even if no one else knew. Like we saw it. We saw something that she was trying to convince the rest of the world to do, or my foot's moving, and they're like, shut up, or at least we saw that, or the love triangle was starting to heat up. Just something, just like to really get my teeth into it, because like Alex, I wanted to like her, I wanted to get there. I just wanted more to, happen rather than being told about everything. So that's all. So, did you have anything else? No? Okay. Sometimes we get, okay, does anybody have any thoughts, comments, feedback? The gentleman at the back with his arm in the air.
I like it for the most part. I mean, it almost like early David O. Russell to a certain degree. And I would say that the only thing there's two things I thought that could have been a little bit better. One is when she's doing the thing with her foot and everything. I don't know, to me, it would be better if you could cut down some of the dialogue for saying move it, and everything. Instead of just, and or just like, let there be silence with her trying to do that, and then she yells and everything. That probably would be better, would be like almost like a moment for like a director to be like, okay, we're gonna like, try to focus on her foot or something, or focus on, the camera, do something with the camera basically.
Yeah.
That also is a good opportunity, I suppose, to get into her, like the depth of her feeling, I suppose, too. That we get a peek more into her emotional life, because we're seeing her determination, but we're not seeing the sort of vulnerability, I guess, of all of this. So that might be a moment too, just to sort of, we always like to know what they're feeling, I guess.
Right.
Yes.
Yeah, kind of to follow up on what you were just saying. To me, the stakes of the paralysis felt low, not just with Brianna, but with family. They're like, when are you getting that van? And I feel like this is, I don't know, I'm really curious about what got her to this place. There was this accident. How long ago was it? What kind of emotions did she go through before she got to this place of determination? And I feel like that color would enrich the current situation for me at least.
Yeah, I think there was a lot of denial in her too. Maybe that's too much denial or something. I don't know.
Yeah. Sir at the back.
I would like to see her suffer with her condition more.
You bastard.
And another thing is I really enjoyed the dad's telemarketing, and I loved his multi-universe idea. I think it was both terrible.
Fair enough.
No, I think there's a lot of really wonderful details, but I agree also if when she talks about being a ranger, it was like the first time I really like clued into her, like I want to know her more, because we know a little bit of the backstory, and the denial part of it I saw, but I'm also wondering in that opening sequence, when we're, instead of them talking about Hindu, if it's more like an active thing where all of a sudden she's doing all these things in the house, and maybe we don't know she's in a wheelchair until like that's the last reveal, like, because if she's a ranger and she's gone through all this training and she's an athlete, or if there's something like she's doing you can see her do all these things, but then we find out, she is disabled. So there's something in where that person who was talking about being a ranger I didn't feel it was the same person who was kind of sitting there looking at these Hindu gods to help her like achieve something that was like supernatural. It seemed to me if it was more active, more physical, and so she knows that she can get over this in some way, and then maybe Hinduism can come in on top of it. But just that, and then going to see the psychic, it just didn't seem like that was the same person to me. Someone, or maybe I don't know yet. Maybe that comes later. Why she's looking at these other magical powers versus just sheer willpower and physical overcoming. Anyway, that's just like that balance of that character.
Yeah. I think I'm saving too much for the second part too, you know, and you're right though, I mean, it's just, and it's kind of stagey because most of it's in the house or in a bar or something.
Yeah, but there's a lot of ways to do that. You like where you kind of do like at the beginning, you do sort of like a red herring where we think it's this thing, but it turns out that there's this other reveal that we get. I just think it would show a little bit more about that determination
Yeah.
if it was more accurate than just talking about it. in
Right.
a second.
It does make me think as well. There's the tone. There are moments that are very light-hearted. I felt that there were moments that were more deliberately light-hearted, which is, I presume, intentional in terms of like, is it a film and a performance piece of her overcoming? Is it, or is it a mystical? So anyway, that I'm still trying to understand that.
Yeah,
well
I guess
from-
it's a metaphysical dramedy or some, yeah, that's,
Yeah.
sorry for using.
No.
Yeah, so, yeah, I always try to have, lighten it up with a little comedy, or that's the way I think or something, so, yeah, I can see what you're talking about, though, about instead of all this talking, you gotta show something, and, I kind of, that's what I'm seeing anyway.
Well, I'm going to ask you what you thought of the reading in a second. It's just when we're done. Okay, we'll have your last one.
Sort of bounce off of that, kind of trying to move away a little bit from like just two talking heads, and maybe that sort of stagey feeling that you get from it, to add a little cinematic sort of interest in it. Just like the conversation of how she explained how she got in a wheelchair in the helicopter, like instead of just hearing about it, let's just kind of show that or illustrate that, or maybe, I don't know what the rest of the script is, some flashbacks back to that might be able to break you out of that kind of stagey sort of feel and make it a more kind of a film type of
It's
thing.
gonna blow out Alex's budget though.
That's what I want.
Yeah, oh, you want that? More helicopters. Yeah. No, I'm kidding. No. Okay, last one. Sir, at the back.
I was trying to decide while the reading was going on, and now I heard you say it's primarily a drama. Do you intend it as a drama?
Yeah, I guess, and, with a few laughs, I guess that's,
Yeah, well, there's always light moments unless you want house or sand and fog, but okay, so if it's a drama, then we need some drama. We need to feel that weight, because I really couldn't figure it out. I was 50-50, which way you were going to go with it, because it does have some light moments. So, quickly, now the little girl is 8, right?
Yeah.
Is it important that she's 8?
well, I think
Should be
around
allowed
that
in- that's
age,
where I'm going.
she reads a lot, she's obviously a genius,
Okay.
and I didn't want to say in the action lines, like she's this and that. It's better to show it.
Okay. Now, the third thing, is the dad scamming or honest?
He's both. He loves his two daughters, but this is all he knows how to make a living. And he got into bitcoins later in the script. So
Well, he's coaching, but he'll make money any way he can, even if it's not ethical.
because he cares about his family, his two daughters.
Okay, I think you need to make that distinction too, because I'm, again, trying to figure out where he's coming from, if he's just ripping people off, or if he's just one of these happy-go-lucky salespeople who thinks he's doing people a service when he's really not. Like, I don't know who he is.
It is a free trip to Acapulco. I mean,
Service charge.
And you can pick your own universe. Okay, what did you learn from hearing it?
It's always unnerving to hear your stuff, but
Always.
I like the actors. I like the way. I probably visioned some quite a little different, but it's. They just got 30 pages, but it's very. I guess I read it so much, and I'm almost tired of hearing it, so I didn't really learn anything other than what I'm hearing from you people, I think, and that helps a lot, it really does. And, you kind of get numb to everything you wrote, after you wrote it. I wrote this a couple years ago, and then I just put it down and then rewrote it, and I entered contests with it before, and I maybe got finalists in one or something, so. But yeah, you really gave me a lot to think about, and it's kind of like, it's more, I gotta get away from the playwriting and more focus on making it a movie, and
Have you got a history of playwriting? Are you a bit of a playwright?
real short ones. I started doing that. There's, and it was nice to see your stuff performed. It was all
Right,
comedies,
sure.
of course, and stuff. But
Yeah.
yeah, so I wrote a lot of screenplays, and it's just a learning process. No matter how often you do it, there's always something new to learn.
Yeah,
And-
which sucks.
Yeah. It is a lot. It's kind of, you're like page 15. It's, oh, God.
Hey, I'm writing one at the moment. I'm up to page 55, and I'm looking at it going, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing. Yeah. Yeah.
So-
Oh, well, thank you for entering and
Thanks.
bringing it. And well done. Mark, everyone.
Hunting Dark Falls by Tony Giambusso, a.k.a. Dr. Gene Canada, a.k.a. Boston Charlie. Exterior, suburban street, day, summer. Northern Maine looks beautiful this time of year. The leaves haven't changed yet. Everything is quiet, just how the people around here like it. Hustling on the screen, galloping on 4 tiny legs, is a Yorkshire Terrier. His tag is too small to see, but his name is Beanie. Beanie runs along the side of the road, seemingly knowing where he's going. He takes a sharp right, turning off into the woods. Reveal this idyllic neighborhood is bordered by the woods. They creep up right to the edge and go on forever. Exterior, the woods, day. Trees whip by as Beanie gallops over the terrain. Complementing the crackling of his four small paws are the methodical squawk of the birds and the rustling of the breeze in the trees. There's nothing more peaceful than this, it appears. Cut to the woods. Our POV, the height of a human, the woods in front of us, the louder crunch of the woods floor as our human feet stomp swiftly across. We're going somewhere. We're on a mission. Cut to, Beanie carries on, heading deeper into the woods. Cut to, our POV tramping along. We're breathing heavily, determined. A branch comes into our field of vision and we whack it away. Cut to, a stream in the woods. The wish-wash of the water adds to the nature soundscape. From across the stream, Beanie runs over. He begins to dig. His front paws and nose attack the dirt. Cut to our POV. We slow our pace. Deep breaths. We're trying to calm ourselves. The sound of the stream fills the air. Cut to Beanie at the stream. He's found his bounty, a collection of chewed up toys. He has them piled beside the stream. He shoves his nose in the water, washing off his face. Cut to our POV. The sound of the stream is very present. We must be right near it. We pivot right, there it is. And there's Beanie. We stalk up behind him, closer and closer as we, exterior stream, woods, day. Sarah Wentz, 35, scoops up Beanie. She wears exercise clothes. She's in great shape, but she's got a good sweat. A water bottle dangles from her wrist.
What are you doing up here, Beanie?
She rubs her face into Beanie's.
Do you know your way home? Huh? Do you know your way all the way home? I can take you if you want.
She rubs her nose on Beanie's again and places him down.
Come on, Beanie.
Sarah starts to walk away. Beanie stays back, tends to his pile of unearthed treasure.
Come on, boy. Come on.
Beanie ignores her, pokes around his toys.
If you get lost and I said I'd seen you up here, man, would I have hell to pay.
Sarah comes back, begins bending down to pick him up when an arrow pierces her chest. It's so shocking to her, so deep that all she can do is stare down at it. She falls to her knees, upsetting Beanie and sending him running off. She grabs at her chest in a futile attempt to do something, anything. She tries to breathe, but nothing seems to be working. She yells out, but it's weak and muffled. Blood runs down her body. She falls back on the ground. She's eye level with Beanie's chew toy. A shadow appears over her. A foot steps onto the toy, emitting a faint squeak. She flails her legs, but it sends a shockwave of pain to her chest. A figure leans over her, lifts her up and out of sight. All that's left is the burbling of the stream and the pile of chew toys. Not moving from the chew toys, the sound of footsteps plunge through the water and then out of it. The rustling of branches as the noises get farther away and gone. Now, just the flowing stream, the birds, the wind, the beautiful sounds of the peaceful woods of northern Maine. Title, Hunting Dark Falls. Fade out. Fade in. Close on, a picture drawn by a child in crayon. A bunch of trees, a small ranch home, a mailbox. Chiron, 1 year later. Taping the picture to the door is Maxine Carter, 40. She talks to someone off screen.
My daughter drew this. That's our house, our lawn. The dimensions are a little off, but she's so sweet and innocent. Hell, she'll learn.
Across from Maxine is Lindsay Carter, 17, arms folded, side-eyeing her mother.
Where did you get that picture?
Cleaned out my desk.
Why?
Because it needed to be cleaned.
I meant, why are you hanging up my picture from 10 years ago?
Maxine looks lovingly at Lindsay. They're in Dark Falls Police Station day. Quaint. Not too much crime happens here. A dispatch desk in the center, a few offices, and a sign that points down the hallway to a holding room. The child's picture is on Maxine's office door. Below the picture is a nameplate, Sergeant Maxine Carter. A tear creeps up in Maxine's eye. She tries to hide it. Lindsay goes over and hugs her.
We still have the summer. Let's not ruin it by being all weird all the time.
The door to the office next to Maxine's open. Stanley Harrington, 60s, an imposing figure with a disarming smile, backs out. He's exhausted. He wears a cap that says Dark Falls. He talks to someone who is inside the office.
Yes, yeah. Very, very interesting, yes.
He continues backing out.
Just one second though, yeah, okay.
He shuts the door, rubs his eyes. He looks to Maxine and Lindsay hugging, doesn't acknowledge it.
Maxine? Can you talk to this guy, please?
Who?
I don't know, he's like some scientist or something.
What do you want me to do?
Help him with whatever he wants help with. I'll buy you lunch.
And Lindsay too?
Fine, but you're getting the same thing. I'm not taking down two different orders.
Now though, I'm hungry.
Maxine goes into Harrington's office, closes the door. On the door are two nameplates. One, Stanley Harrington, Chief of Police. The other, Stanley Harrington, Mayor. Interior Harrington's office, day. Filled with wood knickknacks, pictures of friends and family, plaques, awards, newspaper articles, a large gun case. Maxine sits behind the desk. Across from her is Nick McDonough, 40, kind, enthusiastic. She takes a beat to look him over.
Hi.
Hi, you must be Maxine. I'm Nick McDonough. Mr. Harrington mentioned that you could help me. I'm a researcher at the Smithsonian focusing on Native American studies and...
Maxine puts her hand up for him to stop talking.
Please, take it down a notch.
Sorry, I'm from D.C. If you stop talking for even a second, there's somebody takes your place and...
Nick. What do you want?
Nick points to a picture on the desk. It's a 5x7 photo of a family in the woods. Behind them is a rock wall covered with hieroglyphic-like markings. Maxine looks on like, okay.
So this was sent to my office, anonymously. It was a digital, but I printed it out. The geotag is here in Dark Falls. The style of these markings are old.
As Nick talks, Maxine half pays attention. She notices beside Harrington's desk is a pair of boots covered in dirt. She kicks at them, curious.
But they're skilled. Depending on how skilled, it could be very interesting. The looks of it, this doesn't relate to any of the local tribes, so it's beyond even homage. This could be something new.
Nick is very excited. Maxine, not so much.
So you want to see the rocks? Could have just said that.
She gets up.
Do you have the location?
Nick holds out his phone, a blue dot on a map.
It'll be a bit of a hike.
She goes to the door.
Well, Nick, we appreciate you coming here first, letting us know you're in town and what you're studying. I'm assuming it's part of your science protocol. You have our full support. Don't forget to bring water.
Maxine holds open the door, suggesting that Nick walk out of it. He gets it and gets up. Interior Dark Falls Police Station, day. Nick and Maxine come out of the office. Lindsay sits at the dispatch desk. Harrington is nearby.
Why haven't you...
I ordered it. You all squared away?
Yes, sir.
Nick's heading to the ridge.
Harrington perks up, concerned.
My office, please, Maxine?
Harrington walks directly into the office. Maxine is confused, but follows him in. Harrington closes the door. Nick looks at Lindsay and shrugs. She doesn't know either.
Oh, come on.
Conversation's muddled except for a few key phrases.
He'll be fine.
Nick stands awkwardly in the middle of the room.
But the food is coming.
And it's quiet. The door opens. Maxine comes out.
Let's go, Nick.
And she walks out of the station. Interior Maxine's car, day. Maxine drives a non-police car. Nick, the passenger. He holds a small bag in his lap.
What's in the bag?
Sorry?
What's in the bag?
Oh, equipment.
This little field trip, this is what my tax dollars pay for?
Federal appropriations cover about 70% of the Smithsonian's budget. We don't get per diems anymore.
That must be tough.
Exterior, base of the woods, day. Nick and Maxine get out of the car. This is the same area as the opening, the idyllic neighborhood.
Ridge is 84,000 acres. In the summer, the trails are pretty grown in. Service is spotty. People get lost.
Maxine walks ahead, Nick follows. Interior, the ridge, woods, day. Maxine and Nick hike through the woods. It's hot. The sun fills in all the open spaces. Transition 2, deeper into the woods. They hike along. Maxine is unfazed. Nick sweats profusely. Poking out of some branches is a white cross, a few feet tall, driven into the ground. No other signs of identification, just 2 intersecting white boards and a sea of bright green. Maxine walks past it either as if she didn't know it was there or chose not to look. Nick notices it.
It's not a...
No, it's just a memorial.
What happened? You don't mind me asking.
Maxine speeds up, walking ahead of Nick, saying nothing. Nick peeks back at the cross. Exterior, the ridge, woods, day. Nick and Maxine reach a wall of flat-faced rocks. Nick looks around, finally finding what he's looking for. Around to the back of a large rock, it's covered in multicolored hieroglyphics, dozens of interwoven symbols. Nick looks them over, kneels down, runs his hand over them. Maxine stands nearby, feeling awkward, like she's intruding. Nick takes a brush from his bag and swipes it against the markings. He scrunches his forehead, confused. He picks at the rock with his finger. He looks down at blue on the tip of his finger.
Shit.
What?
It's bullshit.
What do you mean?
It's store paint.
What else would it be?
Not store paint. Red and yellow ochre, mixtures of coal, charcoal, soot, heated calcium and copper. There'd be carvings, indentations. This is just graffiti.
He shakes his head, disappointed.
Sorry.
Maxine stands back, gives him his face. Interior, Maxine's car, day. Maxine and Nick get in the car. She hands Nick a bottle of water. He chugs it.
Sucks you came all this way.
My dad took me to an Orioles game when I was 10. He caught a foul ball. We stuck around and ran into one of the players on the way out, and I got signed. Later that night, my dad passed away of a heart attack. Whenever I get all self-loathing like this, I remind myself that day was much worse.
Lets out a small, self-deprecating laugh. Maxine starts the car. Interior, Maxine's car, moving, day. She drives through the quaint streets of Dark Falls. It's silent until...
We never found her. The cross. Last year, she went missing. We never found her.
I'm sorry.
Maxine nods. She's sorry too.
It was a bad year, man. Bad fucking year.
They drive in silence for a few beats more. Cut 2, the car door shuts hard. Exterior, side of the road, day. Maxine walks around the car, stands near the woods. Nick is still in the passenger seat. Maxine lights a cigarette. Nick peeks back at her, decides to let her be. After a few puffs, she bends down and squashes the cigarette out on the ground, taking the remaining butt back with her. She walks back to the car, gets in, drives off. Interior, Maxine's car, moving, day. Maxine drives with Nick. Her phone rings. She presses a button. A Bluetooth beep over the car stereo.
Hey, you're on speaker.
Harrington screwed up your order.
What? How?
He got the seafood stew and some of the juice leaked into your box. He didn't tell them, so they didn't package it right.
God damn. All right, I'll just pick something up. Love you.
Love you.
Another beep as Lindsay hangs up.
Very particular about your food.
I have a shellfish allergy. Gotta be really careful.
So you're telling me you live in Maine and you can't eat?
Please. There's nothing new you can add.
I'm so sorry, Maxine.
She shakes her head. Interior diner, day. Nick and Maxine eat.
I don't want to be, I don't want to drudge up unhappy memories, but why was the cross up in that woods why was it in that particular location?
It's fine. She hiked a lot. Loved the woods. That area is a lot more open in the fall, not so grown in. That's where her husband proposed.
On that, Nick looks up. He's affected by it.
And yes, he cooperated in every conceivable way. People always ask, was it the husband? Yeah, thanks, we thought of that.
I wasn't going to ask.
Well, it's usually the husband. Or an ex. So you leaving town then?
I am so tired of the grind. Constantly flying, reporting back, and then it's just hustle, hustle, hustle down there.
Nick stretches out his back, settles into the booth.
They gave me 3 days. I am taking my 3 days.
Nick continues eating. Under his breath,
I cannot believe you have a shellfish allergy.
and they crack up at Maxine's expense. Exterior motel day. Nick stands outside of Maxine's car, having just gotten out. He waves goodbye and she drives off. He takes a step toward the motel, stops. He looks up at the woods. They loom beyond the town. Nick stares into them. Interior motel room, day. Small, cute, designed for tourists. Framed pictures of multicolored leaves, signs for old lobster shacks, a mural of the woods, a fake gun, a moose head knick-knack. Nick lies back on the bed. He stares at the ceiling, a lot on his mind. Exterior motel, night. Nick stands beside the motel, staring into the woods. The only noise is the sound of the crickets. He rests his hands on his waist, as if he came out here only to stare at the woods. The sound of the crickets seems to be getting louder and louder, almost deafening, until, cut to, an axe slams into the side of a tree. The crackling pop of split bark. Exterior woods, night. Christy Wall, 18, has her hand on the heel of the axe. She rips it out and slams it in again, popping out a small chunk of tree. She lifts a metal spike, flips around the axe, and uses the butt to drive in the spike.
Net, please.
A net is passed to her. She grabs it. It comes from the hand of Lindsay Carter. Christy attaches the net to the spike. This is a hammock. Christy pushes weight onto it and checks the spikes. Nods. She and Lindsay get onto the hammock, adjusting their weight and balancing until they are together comfortably. Christy pulls a fat joint from her pocket and lights it. She takes a long, purposeful drag. She passes it to Lindsay, who does the same. They lie back on the hammock. From their POV, the trees point straight up. From this angle, they seem to be 1,000 feet high. Beyond the trees, stars fill the sky. The constant hum of crickets continues, and a slow breeze rustles the tops of the trees.
You should totally take Devin here.
Maybe.
Lindsay takes a meditative breath.
Okay, what's up?
Sometimes I feel like I'm not me. Like the real me is actually somewhere else. And this body that I'm in is not mine. Like an avatar. Like I look at myself sometimes and I feel like I'm a stranger.
My brother loves Avatar. He saw it literally like 50 times.
They were all blue.
Another POV of Lindsay and Christy. From afar, very dark. It's only when Christy flicks on the lighter that we can locate them. She takes an impressive hit and coughs. The light goes out, it's dark again. Then the light flickers again as Lindsay lights up, but we're closer to them now. Close on Lindsay and Christy. They peer up at the sky, glossy-eyed.
My mom keeps doing this thing where whenever I walk out of my room, she's like, just there. Like she just happens to be around. But I know she's out there waiting for me.
That's sweet.
Fucking creepy.
Yeah, no, it is a little creepy. You're a baby girl, baby girl.
It's kind of nice sometimes.
Lindsay startles upward, eyes wide, looking out into the darkness. Christy puts a worried hand on her arm.
What?
We follow Lindsay's eyes as she looks around. From behind her, we see the girls and the area that Lindsay is looking out into. Nothing but darkness. Back on Lindsay's worried expression, she looks over and locates the axe leaning against the tree, then back out into the darkness. The fear slowly leaves her face. It transitions into a laugh. She looks down at Christy.
I'm paranoid, man.
She lies back down.
Freaking me out.
Transition to interior, the Own Club, night. A hole-in-the-wall bar. Dim, maroon leather stools, license plates, and pictures of guests cover the walls. A blue-collar crowd is spread throughout. Something distinctly 90s grunge plays this background music. Nick enters. He wears a baseball cap. There's a general look of, who the fuck is this guy, as he walks into the bar. Nick takes a seat. The bartender, Adler, 40s, approaches. He tosses a beverage napkin in front of Nick.
How's it going?
Good. I'll just have a draft. Whatever you recommend, nothing too hoppy.
Adler pulls a frosted glass from a refrigerator. He lets the draft pour while he grabs a beer for another customer. Nick watches Adler's every move as he serves the customer. Nick whips his focus to the draft beer, approaching the top of the glass. Just as the foam is about to overflow, Atler turns and flicks the tap off. He gives the beer to Nick.
$4. I'll start a tab.
Atler holds an invisible credit card in his hand.
Yeah, of course.
As Nick is about to grab a card from his wallet, he stops.
I actually have some cash instead.
Nick hands Atler some cash. Atler goes off. Nick stares at Atler, talking to some men at the end of the bar. Atler looks over at Nick. Nick, caught staring, nods and tips his beer as if to say, cheers. Atler nods back and turns to his conversation. Nick looks around at the decor. Above the bar, he notices a row of arrowheads. They look homemade, rock that has been chipped and shaped, sharpened. They've been carved with care, with curved edges. Nick stares at them, taking in every detail. It's as if he's looking at them through a tunnel running from his eyes to the arrowheads. He picks up on every groove. These were not designed for decor. These were designed to kill. A hand lands on Nick's shoulder. He jumps, startled. He looks back at Yvonne, 50s, a short-haired woman with a tucked-in flannel and khakis. She seems unsurprised at Nick's surprise.
Mind if I...
She holds up a bag as if she wants to place it on the stool next to Nick.
Yeah, of course.
She puts her bag on the chair, sits on the next chair over.
Little daydream, huh?
Yeah, I'm losing it.
Yvonne raises her hand to grab Atler's attention. He grabs a bottle of beer from the cooler and brings it to her.
Hey, hon, how are the crabs and the crackheads?
A lot of both, but I only saw one patient.
Adler smiles. He knows what she's about to say.
But my mom's out of town.
Yvonne leans over the bar, kisses Adler on the cheek.
You good?
Off and on.
He smiles, heads back to the other end of the bar. Nick sits there a moment, sips his beer. He turns to Yvonne.
Crabs and crackheads?
I run the urgent care. We get a lot of STD and drug-related activity.
It sounds like fun.
Yeah. Every day is like a parade in my honor.
Looks up and down.
I don't know you.
You know everyone?
She nods like all too well.
I'm Yvonne.
Nick.
They shake hands over the stool between them.
So, you lived here your whole life?
You?
DC. I grew up just outside of the city. I'm in town on assignment.
Assignment?
Yeah, Smithsonian. I work at the Smithsonian. Native American Studies.
I'm Abenaki.
Oh, yeah?
Mm-hmm. I did that Ancestry.com DNA test.
So you don't like...
Go to meetings? Nah. I was adopted, so I got nothing to offer you.
Yvonne, your company is doing just fine for me.
She smiles, lifts her beer. She and Nick cheers and drink. She lifts her hand to get Adler's attention again. She does a circling motion to signal for another round.
Thanks.
All good. He doesn't charge me for mine anyway. Give him free physicals.
That's a way to get free drinks.
The poor bastard lost his wife.
Yvonne stops talking as Adler walks over and places down 2 new beers. Nick offers a thankful nod to Adler. Adler walks off.
What happened to his wife?
Depends on who you ask.
He looks at Yvonne for a beat, his eyebrows raised. Cut 2. Exterior alley behind the Elm Club, night. Nick stands with Yvonne. She smokes a cigarette.
She really pushed the limits. Paid off. She was in great shape. And she goes into the woods one day and she's just gone.
That's crazy. I can't imagine.
Gone awful.
Any theories, though?
There's a lot of theories, but I think it's pretty obvious. She got a little cocky, hiked too far. Maybe tripped or passed out. Who's gonna find her?
Was it like the whole town looking for her, like in the movies?
For months. The woods are fucking endless.
That's tragic.
She nods, flicks ash off her cigarette.
For what it's worth, I mean, I think there was foul play.
Yeah?
Well, you said that it was the summer when she went missing, right?
Yeah.
Well, I just hiked up the ridge and I was researching some rocks up there. It ended up being a complete bullshit, don't ask. But everything's grown in and she'd have to stick to the trails. If she'd pass out or fell, she'd be somewhere near the trails. You got a whole town plus police and I'm assuming dogs, if y'all got dogs.
We got dogs.
No sign of her?
Think someone took her?
He shrugs. Yvonne finishes the cigarette as she considers Nick's theory.
A lot of people think that too. But they don't say it. Doesn't help much.
She puts out her cigarette. Exterior side of the road, night. Harrington's truck is pulled over. Interior Harrington's truck, night. He's leaned back in his seat, a peaceful look on his face as the radio blasts a sweet oldies song. When the song fades out, he leans up and turns off the truck. The peaceful look drains from his face. He gets out and walks toward the woods. Interior motel room, night. Nick lies on the bed. He stares at the ceiling again. Exterior motel, night. Nick stares at the woods, just like before, long and hard. Transition 2, a box of assorted donuts. A hand sifts through them. Interior Dark Falls Police Station, day. Maxine pokes through the box of donuts.
God damn, Stanley. You can't just let them choose for you, because they just pick all the ones they have trouble selling.
Looking over the box,
A plain cruller? Are you shitting me?
Harrington from his office.
You know, I don't have to bring in donuts.
Yeah, I know, but it's like I look forward to them. If I would look forward to them and they're shit, it's almost worse than if I just knew they weren't gonna be any.
How's the coffee?
There's also a box of coffee with a little spout.
Weak.
Maxine sticks a simple glazed donut in her mouth and lifts a small to-go cup of coffee. She walks towards her office. Lindsay sits at the dispatch desk in the middle of the room.
Mom,
Maxine turns, donut still in her mouth.
Patrol asked if you can cone a tree in Baloo.
Why can't they do it?
They said the cones are here. They'd have to come all the way back.
Did they call to get it removed, or do I have to do that too?
They called. The tree company's out on a job. Can't get there till after dark.
Maxine skips her office and walks out the front door. Exterior, a road along the woods. Baloo Road, day. Maxine's car appears, driving across. She slows down and stops at a large tree branch obstructing a lane. The trunk of her car pops open. She walks out to the trunk, pulls out a stack of orange cones. She hauls them to the tree and lines them up. The tops of the cones have reflectors. There's a loud animal screech from the woods, a painful, blood-curdling screech. Maxine stops and looks into the woods. She takes a step into them. A beat in the woods. She turns back, walks to her car, opens the door and leans in, pulls out a handgun and a holster belt, wraps it around her waist. She walks back to the woods. Exterior woods, day. Maxine walks in, gun holstered.
Hey,
She walks in deeper, avoiding branches.
it's Maxine.
Farther into the woods,
Do you know what day it is?
she keeps going.
I'm calling your mother. I'm doing it right now.
She pulls out her phone.
Hey, Doris, are your boys home? You sure? Some fuckers out here hunting on Sunday. Thought it might be your boys again.
She listens and walks farther into the woods.
Yeah, she acts sweet, but she gets into it. I just want to lock her in a protective box. Well, you have one more year with them. Cherish that shit. I cry once a day knowing she's leaving next month.
The road behind her disappears as she gets deeper in the woods.
When I'm home, I make it a point to always be in a common area so that I might run into her. Between that and work, I get pretty solid showing out of her. She doesn't even know I'm puppeteering everything so that we can hang out more. Thanks, Doris. You're so sweet. I think about him every day, too.
Maxine comes out into a clearing and stops in her tracks, staring at something that is shocking the hell out of her. She lowers the phone, and there's an indistinct talking coming from the speaker, but Maxine doesn't acknowledge it. She's struck looking at what is in the clearing.
Doris, I gotta go.
She puts her phone away and pulls out her gun. Moving past Maxine, scanning the woods, seemingly peaceful across the trees, the beep of a radio.
Avila, I need you at that downed tree on Baloo immediately.
Moving across the brush, slowly into the clearing, a beep. We don't have the cones.
It's not about the fucking cones, just get out here, right now.
On it. Through the clearing and down, finally arriving at what Maxine is looking at. A fox. The head decapitated, sprawled out a few feet from the body. The entire back, from tail to neck, is skinned. The thick flap hanging over the front. A pool of blood continues to seep outward from the fox. This is fresh. Maxine scopes the perimeter of the clearing. Exterior Baloo Road, day. A police car speeds up, stops next to Maxine's. Two officers, Avila and Jane, jump out. Maxine! A loud whistle from the woods. Avila and Jane run in near the downed tree branch. Exterior woods, day. Maxine looks down at the scene. Avila and Jane come up behind her. They see the fox and recoil. The fuck? The officers walk around the clearing, looking for some evidence. Maxine stares at the fox. It's a gruesome sight. This was clinical.
There's no entry wound.
What?
Nada.
That means
Cut its fucking head off while it was still alive.
the three officers suddenly feel all alone. Surrounded by the woods, they look around. Cut 2. A POV from deeper in the woods, looking back at the officers. We're watching Maxine, Avila, and Jane look around. An arrow comes into view. The arrowhead is homemade, split from a rock, shaped, pointed. It aims at the officers. The sound of the tugging tension of a pulled back arrow. From this distance, we see Avila pull out his gun and grab his radio. We hear the beep, but not what he's saying. Jane pulls her gun. The arrow in front of us lowers. Some rustling as whoever was holding it runs off. Maxine looks over in our direction. She takes a step to the edge of the clearing and looks, finds nothing. Interior Dark Falls Police Station multi-purpose room, day. A small, sparse room with a table and some folding chairs. A box is on the table. Maxine and Harrington look at it.
Jesus. What are we supposed to do with it?
Animal control said they have no reason to take it.
Oh, we can't leave it in the evidence room.
Do we bury it?
Cut 2. Exterior Dark Falls Police Station, alley, day. Harrington carries the box away from his body. He approaches a large trash bin, and he hurls the box inside.
Sorry, buddy.
Interior Dark Falls Police Station, day. Harrington comes back in. Lindsay and Maxine are there. Maxine is heating something up in the microwave.
Same page.
Maxine and Lindsay look to Harrington.
Quiet about this. People will start talking. There'll be a write-up in the breeze. Last thing we need are people freaking out, afraid to go into the woods. Okay?
Same page.
Same page.
Harrington goes into his office. End of scene.
I find it's harder because sometimes we have like comedies where it's like there's lots of dialogue and people are really into it, and I wonder if is that harder or easier when it's more mellow and it pace? Is it harder to act when it's a more measured? Doesn't matter. No. Fair enough. All right.
How many lines do I have?
Well, so much of it relies on the visual that we don't have. So,
Right.
Yeah, I think it might be harder for the audience.
Right. Right.
I really enjoyed the establishing. I really enjoyed the way that you immediately pulled us in, the kind of activity at the beginning. We understand the town, we understand the woods, we understand that environment, and then being slapped with a murder straight away, I thought was like from what is gonna build as more of a horror film, I presume, or genre film. That immediately pulled me in. Fair enough, we then need to step away and build some characters, and you did all of that. I understood all of that. I did then think that we got probably 20 pages in and nothing more had happened. I'd had some good establishment. I understood some of the relationships. You know, we'd been up into the woods. The one thing that I struggled to get beyond was why Nick, I think Maxine takes Nick to the woods, but he's just a guy who's wandered into her sheriff's office. I didn't understand why. I understood what that was trying to do to me, and it was good that they were going off to the woods. However, I found just the practicalities of that made me disbelieve what was going on, and it took me out of the story. Personally, not the characters. I like the characters. I didn't the intention of why would she take a stranger up? Because I think you could establish that in a clearer way that doesn't push the audience to maybe wonder why. But I understood that, I enjoyed where it was going. I liked the fact, I felt that you could have, that tension could have come in maybe 5 pages sooner, because otherwise I'm waiting. I think it's really important to have a scare early on. And then you do need, and traditionally you need that momentum of understanding and having attachments to other characters. So, but I still think it could have been a little bit sooner.
That's it? I mean, that's good. You don't need more. I agree. It starts well and then it doesn't. It just sort of wanders off into town life and almost northern exposure-y with a hint of menace rather than the menace you start off with, which is so great. I did wonder who Beanie belonged to. What the hell happened to Beanie? Would have been nice. I just wondered about the dog, really. But then I really wanted, when you did bring the scare, I completely agree. I think that the scare should have come, there should have been, it did get lost a little bit in the minutiae of stuff. But then when you finally do the scare, it's just a skinned fox. And whilst anybody from Peter who's listening, I apologise. That's terrible that foxes are dying in the forest. But I kept waiting for someone to say, oh no, he's back. Or, oh, this is happening again. Or no one can see, it's a fox this time. Or just something that made me think that there was something more than some rando who's skinning live foxes, which to me was like, oh, poor fox, but it didn't seem associated with the horrifying disappearance / murder that we had seen. And then, and again, when you're talking about logic, yes, I agree, it seemed weird that he would take him over the forest. It also seemed weird that Murdery would be attempting to murder 3 policemen out in the forest, because if he's using bow and arrow, or she, or it, who knows, he, she, or it couldn't possibly take 3 of them down with an arrow all at once. So that's like, why would you expose yourself when you haven't done anything in the last 12 months, when clearly there are people randomly in the forest all the time? Why on earth would you pick that? That just seemed odd. So it took me out of it too. I was like, I don't know why you would pick a fight with the cops. There is many other idiots running around in the forest, as has been established, that he could pick off at will. So, or she, or it. So I kind of felt like if you're going to go with the next scare, a skinned fox didn't really do it for me. It was like I wanted more of a, oh shit, in keeping with Maxine's reaction. So even if it is just a skinned fox, it would have been lovely if there was some indication why everybody wanted to cover up and why they were all staying on the same page and why it was like, we're not telling anybody. You're probably going to tell me that happened on page 31. But and I'm going to say I'm sorry, but yeah. So it really it is a momentum game, those kind of scripts, and you, yeah. I mean, I know you, so you can get the momentum going faster, I reckon. Yes.
Yeah. All fair.
Yeah. Okay. Well, let's take some questions and then we'll get what you think. All right, Suzanne.
Okay. Did Nick do it? Is he the X?
You're gonna find out. No.
If he is, he better be.
The answer to one of those questions is yes, and the answer to the other one is no. But one of the questions is yes. Did Nick do it? Is he the X?
Sir, at the back.
Hi. This is my first time doing, so I'm sorry if I do this the wrong way. But
there is no wrong way as long as you only take 2 minutes.
Okay. Instead of a fox.
What?
It's very simple.
Shut up. Sorry, go ahead.
Instead of a fox, why not the dog Minnie? And
Beanie.
Beanie.
Totally. Yes, Beanie should be murdered. That'll be fine. No. But we all feel about Beanie, don't we? We care.
Going around like, oh, maybe she was taken, and everyone's kind of like, it's not really, probably not. And if that happens, then if the fear goes in, like someone is taking people, and this is like some kind of weird sign. I don't know if that's the right thing to say here. I apologize.
No, you're cool. What did happen to Beanie? Beanie just ran off.
He just ran off.
Stupid.
Supposed to be like a little misdirection. You think it's the dog. Beanie comes back later, but
oh, good.
I do like the idea of it being a dog though, because a dog maybe you would care about.
Not that I don't care about foxes. I like foxes.
Maybe like a seeing eye dog or something.
You can't kill a dog?
That's a rule.
Is it?
I think so, yeah.
What, in movies?
So you put the audience off if you kill a dog.
Yeah.
No one will go.
All right, what about like a kangaroo?
Yeah, you can kill them.
Kangaroos, foxes.
You can kill kangaroos. Yeah.
Humans.
Yes.
Yeah, humans.
But just not a dog.
Babies.
Oh, really? That makes sense. Sir?
You're not willing to reveal the resolution of the story or the basic trend. Was it a horror movie or what would
It's like maybe like thriller horror style. Yeah.
Are you willing to share more? Or are you going to leave it?
Yeah, I'm willing to share everything. Yeah.
You can see him afterwards.
Yeah, no,
We won't. We
Yeah,
won't let.
I'd
We won't.
love to talk about it. Yeah.
Because I want to wait and see it when it comes out. James.
I was wondering, I really enjoyed it, and I was just wondering, is it important to you that it's a year later after the murder? Because I don't know what happens the rest of it, but it seems that I was trying to figure out what the significance of that is, and it would be might add to the stakes that if it's not a year later, it's a week later, and this town is kind of dealing with this thing as well, and then this outsider is brought in. But maybe there is a reason it's a year later that I don't know about, but it almost felt to me that you rob yourself from some stakes that are already right there that could kind of maybe feed your story.
Yeah, future draft of the next draft that I did already. Sorry, I got ahead of myself.
It's okay.
It shows in the first 30 pages why it's relevant that it's a year later, because that was a note of why have it be a year later. And I do get into that.
So basically, we're all superfluous to your needs.
No,
Right, fair
no.
enough.
Yeah, I'm ready.
Okay, fine. Yeah. No, fair enough.
No, I just found that one.
No, I know. Les.
Well, I thought all your details and everything were great, and I liked like all the visual cues and cuts and things. But I just took that, for some reason, when the arrow comes at the very beginning, I wanted to know what kind of arrow it was, and maybe that's not a big deal, but like I was thinking, like, is it a modern arrow? But then with all this Native American, whatever, just something about some detail of the arrow, I think, would help establish what kind of journey we're going on. Anyway, just some detail about that. That was like my one thing.
A clue. Yes.
I just kind of bouncing off that, but I really enjoyed how the visuals and a lot of the transitions and stuff. I know when I was reading it, maybe it's different when you're hearing it. But for me, I know these guys are standing there waiting for something else to happen, but I thought that all of that stuff, when I was reading it last night, did a really good job of maintaining a level of tension that kept me floating, you know, and I thought all of that stuff really added to it, and it's just like, just as you sort of get lulled into a scene, there's like axe, you know, and I can see that being really jarring, and so I really appreciate it.
All right. And last one. Yeah, sir at the back.
I really enjoyed the.
No.
I really enjoyed the bar scene and how the bartender wasn't just a bartender, but also related to the murder victim and how the arrows were on the wall and stuff. I liked how everything was connected in that scene.
All right. Well, that was a quick note, so we can have one more. Danny.
I just, I felt there was tension, you know, when you said the hit, whoever it is, in the woods, when the two girls were smoking dope and talking and the accent. But that, from that point of view in the woods, that was that person eyeing them at that time, I'm assuming.
Maybe.
That had attention for me.
Yeah, something was
that.
that.
Was the second piece, and then the third was with the fox, you know.
Yeah. But I want more. That's the way I, you know. I just want more.
Yeah, I thought the second bit was when Nick went up. I thought that was good tension, but then you'd been teased a few times.
Yeah, maybe too
I
many
felt
teases.
like I just needed not much, but something more.
More than a fox.
No, that's that mirrors some notes that I've gotten where it's like,
oh, thank goodness,
trying to be too you know, groundbreaking and cute with it. And it's like just kill somebody, all right?
Yeah.
You know?
Just not a dog, apparently.
Yeah.
So yeah.
But it depends what I don't know how bloody it gets as it goes on. I mean, it's the, you know.
It's like the third act is like all in the woods, all kind of every character ends up in the woods deal. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Bloodbath.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions or anything for anybody? And did you get anything from it as well?
Yeah, no, I got a lot from it. So when I had, it was nice to hear. It is hard to listen to something with that much action, so I apologize, with that much action text, like in the audience, where it's like, I usually write things with more dialogue, I mean, you know that, so it's just like a lot of rat-a-tat, and it's fun. For this one, I was really focused on developing a mood in action. And in my next draft, I wanted to have mostly action, but also cut a lot of that action. So kind of like pulling away, still having the same amount on the page, but also like thinner action, so that it moves a lot smoother and more quickly. I could really hear it listening, like, oop, you're novelizing a little too much about the green of the trees. So yeah, that was really helpful to hear. And obviously notes are always good.
Yeah.
Was the some of the laughs in it as well? That was on the page, or was that the acting, or like in terms
No,
of
I intended to have a little bit of levity, trying to make it, not too jokey, but something that's like organic to the character a little bit. Yeah. And also, trying to misdirect, like, oh, this is the friendly mayor, but maybe he has some darker, and things like that. And people aren't who they say they are, so they're a little, off.
Yeah, I know you can do that. So yeah.
Trying to pick my spots.
All right, very good. All right, well, Gene. Gene Cantor, everyone. Thank you. Thanks, Danny. Yes, it's Q&A time. So, Alex, what do you do? Bloom Media is
a development, production, finance, distribution company. So we make or are involved in making 10 to 12 movies a year. It's a partnership, it's a business that I set up with a producer, friend of mine called Ken Cow. And we have our own private sources of financing, or we partner with other finances. We develop stories, articles, scripts, come on packaged, finished screenplays as well, and package them up. We've worked on films from Sea of Trees, Gus Van Sant's film, which we began 3.5 years ago when we began the company. We did a film called The Nice Guys a couple of years ago. We just made George Clooney's film Suburbicon. We have Hostiles, Christian Bale's new film in cinemas at the minute. We have a film called Strangers, a horror film coming out in March as well. So we do a variety of things. My personal expertise has been in distribution, in international sales of films, so ranging on the independent sector, ranging the financing for films, so selling international distribution rights around the world, so evaluating actors, directors, pieces of material, genres, pieces of material, to raise funding to have the film made. So you sell the dream of what the material can be, with elements attached to it, to raise the money to make a film. And we do that on 10 to 12 films a year. We just partnered with a major Hollywood agency as well, as the distribution world's changing very rapidly, to try and give us a bit more strength too. So is that? And
TV too, right? Did I see on? I actually read on Deadline that you did some deal for TV, or with the makers of something. What was the show? Some HBO show.
No, we've just begun a company with Jean-Marc Vallée, who's the director of Big Little Lies. He's doing the second season of that now. He's doing he's in post on a TV series called Sharp Objects. So he's a filmmaker first and foremost, writer, director, editor of feature films. He did films like Dallas Buyers Club, Crazy, Wild. And he then moved into television. Well, in fact, he didn't move anywhere. He just made longer films in television that then got chopped up. But it's the way that filmmakers and film stars are now moving in between the two genres, if you like, the two mediums, in a really exciting way for all of us.
So do you find projects, or do projects find you? I mean, do you have a line of people outside your door if you have financing with make my script? Or do you go and, how do you find?
A mix. We try and find projects by going to filmmakers that we like, the filmmakers that we believe in, or we hear about stories or read scripts that then filmmakers might come onto. So we're always searching, but we have a good reputation for being able to raise funding, being able to license films very successfully, which helps films get made. So one of the main things, say, that we can provide, if you like, is that the banks, the filmmaking banks, the film financing banks, if we say we can raise X million dollars for a film, they will believe that that is real against many other companies. There's many other companies that do what we do. There's only probably 5 or 6 companies in the world that have that kind of collateral, if you like, or that kind of sort of success rate, really. So they're prepared to lend more against the estimates that I'm able to put down.
How do you get to this point? How did you become, how do you get that reputation?
From experience, I've been doing it for nearly 20 years. So I was in the UK, I began in the UK working for a handful of production distribution companies there. And then I was brought over here by Paramount Studios when they began a company called Paramount Vantage. So we made a number of interesting films there, and in fact for me as a foreigner, if you like, it was an interesting move because the weight of films playing around the world was moving a lot more balance between, especially independent film, between domestic and international, and especially that time, that was 11 years ago now. So then having the experience of working on bigger films as well as more independent films, I'd worked on a number of films in the UK and around the sort of 15 to 20 million space, like for a couple of Woody Allen films we helped put together. Whereas coming here, we were working on No Country for Old Men. We put the financing together for Shutter Island, which was 100. So doing films of different scale was a very lucky or however experience for me quite early on, which gave a big range of things that we could achieve.
That's awesome. So I have many questions, but firstly, what comes first? Like, is it talent first and then the money follows, or is it money first and then the talent comes, or
money's not the problem. Raising money.
No one in this room would agree with you.
Raising money to make there's a lot of available money for film financing. There are a lot of subsidies. There are a lot of international subsidies. The material and the audience, like being clear about the target of the material, is critical. Then obviously there are many things that make the financing easier to find, like having the right stars, the right package, the right elements around the material, that the money then comes towards you. We're working on something at the minute which is, we have 4 companies fighting in the way that we fought to be involved just as a sales agent. There are now 4 companies fighting to fully finance that, and it's purely because it's a piece of material and it's attracting interesting pieces of cast, and so I don't think the funding is not, as long as the audience is clear and the ambition of the material is clear. It makes it much easier, obviously, then when you have the right elements that come into it. But first and foremost, I think it's critical that it's clear who you're trying to approach. Like, are you, it's harder and harder to get things into cinemas. The competition for all of our attention is harder and harder. Getting anyone out of the house is incredibly difficult now.
What sort of audience is going to, for people who write scripts, like if I'm sitting down and I don't have any ideas, what sort of audience target, what's an example of an audience that you want to hit that the money will come running towards? You know what I mean? It's like, we really want to hit, is there a demographic, or is there a genre, or how is it defined?
I think it's a good question, because it's not. I don't think there's a clear answer. The the easier things to predict are the bigger things, if you like. If you know, there's no secret that every studio is trying to make tentpole movies which are more theme park rides rather than actual narrative feature films. You know, it's a very, very different type of business, but they're more prepared to spend $200 million on a film production, you know, not even including the marketing. That's a safer bet for them than it would be financing a $5 million film. So for us, you know, I think it's exciting because you have films like, just looking at the kind of batch this year, Lady Bird, you know, on page, that would have been a tough film to finance, and that was financed with as much risk probably as a far bigger film. If that film cost $6-7 million to make, that was all risk. But the company they're part of a US distribution business, so they felt that they had that, and then they would then license off the rest of the world. So technically for them, there's very, very little risk. I'd say
So you're saying though that there's no specific audience. It's not like we really need to hit Chinese women aged 32 to 34. Like, what do you got? Or, you know, which is a good thing. I mean, it's just the script needs to be clear.
If a female-facing film is that much stronger now than it probably was, people are that much more aware, like buyers, not the audience, but buyers, the financing community, the talent community are that much more eager for that kind of material. I think films facing an older audience as well are, for me, one of the things that we're most looking for. If you can,
because they're still getting out and going to movies? Is that why?
They're going out and going to, they're one of the best attending demographics.
I knew our time would come.
Yeah, we have. I mean, we're selfishly, it's getting more important. But having a film, say, for that kind of audience with a bit more fun to it as well.
What's older mean? What's the definition of older?
50 plus.
Yep, that's good. So older, but with a bit of fun.
A genre film, a horror movie is, you know, last year was one of, you know, again an incredibly successful movie for a year for horror films. Horror films are generally less expensive to make, so therefore there's a upside to them that people find exciting. So
it's a good time in independent film.
It's not a bad time. There's more distributors than ever. You know, they're not all cinema distributors. They're not all, you know, theatrical releasing distributors. So yeah, I think it's a great time. It's a scary time, but it's a scary time, especially historically. If I'm looking to sell a film territory by territory around the world, that's becoming harder and harder because of the escalation of streaming values and the disappearance of DVD. All of those kind of things make it harder.
Because you can't protect your territory as much.
You can't earn as much within your territory because DVD's gone away to a large degree in most places. It's gone away largely in America as well, but America's still a lot stronger than most international markets. The advertising, or the lack of advertising, or the lower pricing of advertising on television means that TV stations aren't buying films for as much, sort of down the food chain. So that makes the squeeze at the top when you're trying to finance a film, is pushing the budgets of films down.
So it's good and scary at the same time.
Yeah.
How much of it is, this is just for me, how many vanity projects are there? I mean, do you get stars who are like, there's a script that my brother's next door neighbour wrote that I really want to do, and it's awesome, and I'll be in it, and I'll work for almost nothing. Do financiers go, yay, or is the star power kind of drifting off, like, as we move forward? Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, I think it's drifting off.
It is?
Yeah.
Because it feels like 10 or 15 years ago, if you stuck a star in front of it and they were reading the phone book, you'd make your money back. But that doesn't seem to be as prevalent anymore.
Yeah, it's much, much harder.
So it really does come down to the material.
Yeah, and buyers are that much more cautious. They're not, unless things are, far clearer for them, they're not gonna, they won't engage as easily as they used to.
So in the old days, you would do, when you say selling internationally, you would do a lot of that before you actually make the movie, right?
Always, yeah.
Always. So it's all pre-sales.
Yeah.
That you hope to raise enough money from selling it to Taiwan and Denmark that goes into the budget. That's where the money gets spent.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I figured.
Yeah.
Wow. So what's the most interesting part of your job? What do you like the best?
Finding the material and then making a film happen. I think it's those two pieces of it. You know, like we're constantly truffle hunting for new pieces of material, new ideas.
Where do you look? How does a script find its way to you?
Through many different either producers that we know well, articles that we've read. You know, we have a team of 15 people, so you know everyone has their own different background, influences, and they bring their own ideas to the table. Through the agencies, we get a lot of screenplays that they're looking to package, but we read a vast amount of thousands a year.
Given that you read so many and that we have a room full of writers, are there trends you see in terms of what separates a good script, or one that you'd be interested in from one that you wouldn't be interested in? What are the sort of things you see out there? And also, what's the general quality that comes across your desk, would you say? Is it like, out of the thousands, a whole bunch of them are really good, or there's only a handful, or what?
If we read probably 3,000 a year, and we make 10 to 12.
And so,
but some of them as well. For example, there was a script that we read this weekend with a major star that is about to go around studios and looking for distribution here. It's in our opinion, it's a film that the current climate just won't take, and I don't back them to be successful. But it's a really interesting story. It's a really interesting character. It's a really interesting story, but it's way too
tone deaf.
Yeah, it's tone deaf in terms of what the current climate is.
Right.
You know, and certainly we all hope where the current climate will stay and develop from, and the screenplay just doesn't match that. So, but there are times to all of this that we read a lot of material. A good script never goes away. It doesn't mean that it's going to be made now, tomorrow. It might be, a film like The Revenant. The Revenant was one of the first scripts I read when I moved to America. And that always had Leonardo DiCaprio attached to it, and it had lots of different directors over the years, and it was always expensive. In fact, it was half the price of what it ended up costing, and that felt incredibly expensive to everyone. But it was a great script, and but it took 10 years more for that to get to the right place, get to the right ingredients, for someone to write a check and, take the risk of making it.
So what I know I asked two questions at once. So what to you separates, what makes a good script? What stands out? What aspects of a script separate it from the pack?
If it's a genre film, a concept coming in very early, which is clear. Same with a thriller. With a film for an older audience, something that's heartfelt, having the right emotional balance, something that's funny. Characters and stories that move us somehow, whether that's making a film about a war journalist at the minute, and that was just a incredibly powerful story, a true story to tell, that really stood out to us. Making Strangers was, Strangers, the one that we're releasing in March, is there was another film, the original Strangers, if you like, was made 9 years ago, and it was just a really good, suspenseful horror film. This one it wasn't quite as strong, I don't think, as the original screenplay, but still the concept was great, and the characters we understood. So with the right character development, the right emotional attachment to them, whether it's drama, horror, I think are the main things that we look for.
And what about Hostiles? What was it that attracted you to that? It's out at the moment. It's a Western. Christian Bale.
It's
Go and see it because Alex made it. So
please
go and see it, all of you. We'll be checking.
Yeah, multiple times.
Yes.
As much support as we possibly can get. But that was a film that Christian Bale, first and foremost. It was designed as a Oscar movie. So, you know, we had a successful weekend last weekend in terms of the opening weekend.
Yeah.
From the film clearly finding an audience that will hopefully grow. We weren't successful in making a film that the Academy went for this year, and it's very much, you know, the reason we went for it was the story and the actor and the team around it, if you like, that we felt could get us there. The story is it's 1893. It's the turn from the Old West into modernity, so it's 7 years after, you know, say Sitting Bull and major chiefs had been caught. There was still a number of Indian, you know, savages, if you like, that were still out and still incredibly dangerous to the kind of pioneers, if you like. Mm-hmm. It was the moment when the press started to move against the regime, if you like. Washington started to turn. The press was driving the story that, you know, we've come in and we've stolen their land. Why are they any different to us? They're human beings. You know, our generals are the savages as well. So Christian Bale plays a man who is doing his job. He's been doing his job and he's done a really good job, but he's now being, you know, targeted as a savage.
Right. And
he's told by the president that he needs to take a chief that has slaughtered many of his friends through him doing his job, through the battles over the years. His job is to take him 1,500 miles and risk his life just before he goes into retirement to his burial ground because the chief is dying. So it's a road movie, technically, about, you know, it's about reconciliation. It's about two men understanding that they're no different from each other. And on this trip, they need each other, and that brings them close. And it's a wonderfully relevant story for now because of, obviously, all the things that are going on around the world.
Right.
You know, wherever you're from, it's a very, very relevant and unbelievably recent story.
When you have a Western and you know that people aren't super into Westerns, and I mean, does that involve? How big a part does it? What's my question? The notion of if you build it, they will come. You know what I mean? Like if we just make a good film, people will find it.
Yeah.
Doesn't seem to be necessarily the way the world works. Or is it? I mean, do you have to do anything different with this film? It's like, look, we've made a great film, we know it's a great film, but it's a Western, and it's a sort of a contemplative piece. We're going to have to market this in a certain way in order to get the audience, or, I mean, and...
Yeah. I mean, one, we needed there's no way of making a film of that scale without a movie star.
Right.
Making it as close to The Revenant, you know, maybe a good thing and maybe a bad thing. Making it close to The Revenant being successful, it like reminded us that people will go to the right Western. We never viewed it as a Western. We reviewed it as a very culturally relevant film.
Right.
And that's probably a mistake as well. Maybe we weren't honest enough with ourselves that it is a Western. You cannot get away from the palette, if you like, of the Old West when you make a film like that. But the Western has got such a long history, and our distributor, in fact the distribution community, we made the film without distribution, and that's for a variety of reasons. One, because we chose to. We also felt that having footage, having, you know, Christian Bale showing the kind of the mood of the film would bring people in, and that actually didn't happen. We started engaging distribution the week that Trump won the week of the inauguration, and the distribution community here were incredibly sensitive about it. The movie itself is violent and the tone is tough. So people felt people need an uplifting story. They need an uplifting story now. So people weren't, and so like, these are things that are entirely unrelated to the film that was made, but you know, the distribution sort of process is all about now.
Right.
And all about, you know, finding that audience now. So there were a lot of challenges, but as well as especially happy to see that people are going this weekend. And it's been marketed mainly, or you know, largely outside. As soon as we knew that we weren't getting the award traction that we hoped for, we moved straight into the sort of the middle of America, you know, outside of the major cities.
Right.
So places where the Western films are played best, if you like, in the country.
I have a bunch more, but I know I'm taking time. I have one question for you, and then we'll throw over to a couple of questions. Do you have any advice for people writing scripts right now, in terms of what they could do to attract more attention, or what they could, just anything?
I mean, the same point of really like I was attracted to, say, working in the film business from the sales perspective. Like I wanted to, I went and found, is there a world where people sell films? Because I thought that initially was an interesting place to learn about a business. I had no background in film or family or friends even really in film. And I found that there was, and I felt that that was a good place to learn, because if you can't sell it, what is the point in making it? Like, we can't find an audience initially. So I think it's even more critical now, the fact that there are great opportunities, because we have so many different places to see a film, whether it's on a big screen, whether it's on a small screen, whether it's on a screen that we walk around with. Like, there's, people need content, from mobile phone companies to streaming businesses to major studios. So there's great opportunities, but unless we're clear, in all of our different, parts of the business, from writers to, say, then where people like me step in, unless we're clear at what that target is, it's going to be really challenging.
So know what you're writing.
Know what you're writing. Know
who it's for.
Know who it's for. Know where you want it to be seen. Is it a film that you think is going for, award recognition? Is it a film that, you'd hope to play at festivals? Is it a film that would travel outside of, your own local life, your own local community, your friends? Are you writing it for your friends? Are you writing it for people that you don't know? I mean, when we sit and read scripts, we always give our own gut reactions, just because we always, it's the hardest thing not to do. But the one reaction that is never what we're not looking to hear, if you like, is that this film wasn't for me. Like, whether it's not everyone likes horror films. It doesn't mean that we can't all enjoy or see the benefits of a horror screenplay, or a drama, or whatever it might be.
I worked in film distribution for 6 glorious months as a marketing person, and there was, at lunchtimes, you would eat lunch while you watched a film, and then you fill in the card about what you thought in terms of its marketing potential. And I'd just come from being a film reviewer in TV, and one time there was this film called Fortress. I may have mentioned it here before. There was a film called Fortress with Christopher Lambert. It was like 1992. It's a dreadful science fiction movie. Go and watch it, it's dreadful. And I wrote at the end, while I'm eating my lunch, I said, this is rubbish, this should go straight onto VHS, onto video. There's really no market here in Australia for this film, it's terrible. Put my card away. And then I got brought into the office, and they said, you're new here, we don't want your personal opinion. We want to know, how you think we should sell it. And by the way, the boss of the company is the executive producer of the film. So here you are, you will be working on the marketing of it to learn a lesson. And it was fascinating because I had to put aside what I thought of it and then focus on how we could sell it. And we ended up ridiculously making enough money that they made a sequel, which is even, it's even worse than the first one. But yeah, so it is really interesting when you separate, because I mean, we read a lot of scripts, Melanie and I read a lot of scripts, and people not being able to separate that's what something we find is that they are so attached to the piece that they know what the story is, but it's not there on the page. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like it's like they know what they're doing, or they know what it is, and it's not open enough for us, for strangers, to look at it and be like, oh, I know what you're trying to say, and I know what your subtext is, and I know what your emotional connection is with the characters, and I know all that. I can see it all on the page. I read a lot of them where it's like, I'm pretty sure I think you know what you're trying to do, but it's not there. So it's interesting that you say that. Okay. Anybody have any questions for Alex? Yes, the lady in the front.
Two, if it's possible. One is, which is the talent agency that you have a partnership with? And the second one is, so you do a slate of 10 to 12 film properties a year. How many film properties do you do just sales on per year?
So Endeavour Content, which is WME,
Okay.
the old WME, is the talent agency, and it depends. We're looking for it to be about half of our content that we actually produce or finance or have financing in.
So that means 6? Is that
yeah,
so
5 to 6 a year.
So 5 to 6
It's
have some of your money,
yeah.
and 5 to 6 have
It's been
sales.
it's been about 3 to 4 a year up until now. So selling 7 or 8 on top of that. Just selling. We sell all of them, if you like. So if we do 10, we sell all of them. But that makes sense.
Yes, sir.
Hi, my question is, what do you think of comedy as a genre? Are you ever looking for comedy scripts? And I've heard, is there any truth to the notion that comedy does not translate well internationally?
Yeah, we're always looking for comedy scripts, I think, more than ever. Finding really good comedy scripts that we think can travel is really hard. Comedy is especially hard to travel for a few reasons, and the main one is that every country around the world makes their own local comedy, so it's really competitive more than anything. So they're not always thinking like, if a comedy is too American, it's not going to be as well received at script point as in the same way that a really funny French comedy is not going to be as well received here, probably. It doesn't travel as well from that respect. So a lot of comedies we sell as with proof of concept. So we'll sell it off a trailer. So we have to work out ways, or we'll have to build a financing plan that allows us to, sell it down the line once we have more value, once we think we have more value that we can prove. So it's just a slightly different process than just selling it off a script.
Yes, sir, at the back.
Have you ever made a movie where, while making it, you thought it was going to be one thing, and then once you finished it, completely flipped your expectations, not with how well it did, but more of how good it was to you?
How good it was to us?
Yeah.
I've definitely been involved with films that, that we as a group massively struggled with in terms of getting to a point that any of us were even remotely happy with, and then actually having them on release and them doing pretty well for the producers that made them.
So in English, does that mean in English you looked at this film and said, this is shit?
Yeah.
And then it's gone out and made money?
Yeah. But I'm only thinking, I've never made a film where it's been something entirely different. And I haven't sadly had an experience like Fortress, where it was possibly that, and it got a bigger film. Where I've made, where I've been involved with handheld, in the phase post Paranormal Activity, where a lot of handheld genre films made, films that just weren't well executed but still made good money for the finances.
Look at that. I'm sure you've had the reverse. Well-made films that have been bombed. Suburbicon.
Very recently was a film that no one to date has been to see.
No. No, they really haven't. Sir, at the back.
with when you released The Nice Guys, how was that not a huge hit? Honestly, I mean, and I know that Shane Black was hoping to develop it as a trilogy act. And
Yeah.
was that always the hope for that? Like,
Yeah,
the
right
idea
from
of
the
doing a
beginning.
Counter program. It's almost like it'd be like the first kind of counter programming franchise.
Yeah.
You don't know?
It's a sore spot. We all felt we had a fantastic. Oh, in fact, it sounds like you enjoyed it as well.
I enjoyed it. Yeah.
It. I mean, it was something like, for us, the amount of times I've had friends who say, "Oh my God, I finally saw that film of yours, Nice Guys. That's really good." And it was like, I finally downloaded it. It was like, my God, if even if good friends of mine who I would be certain would buy that cinema ticket didn't go and buy that cinema ticket.
I did, Alex. I did.
You did?
Yes, I bought a cinema ticket.
I mean, there were a few things. Like one, the date that we released that film was in the middle of the summer. We didn't fight that hard enough. The studio were apprehensive. Warner Brothers here released the film. They were apprehensive about it. We were apprehensive about it, but we were happy as well. We were like the best time. The risk was very competitive. The upside though is that because it's competitive, because there are big movies playing, people are going to the cinema. So therefore, we might come in number 2 or number 3 for the opening weekend, but we'll still gross more than we would if we went at the end of the year. We believed that it was a broader, wide release film. And I think the reality was it was still more of an independent, spirited film. It might have been better served playing later in the year. The period of the film, the film never played to anyone really other than hipsters. Anywhere in the world. The first country to release the film was France. We went to the Cannes Film Festival, and it played fantastically. The reviews were great. No one in France outside of Paris went to see the film. Really no one. And that went throughout the world. That happened. So I mean, there was that. It felt for the retro nature and marketing of the film. The marketing went on to win masses of awards, but it didn't get people in.
Was Russell Crowe supposed to be that fat for that film? Was that in the script?
He, I don't know. Are we on camera here?
We are.
We were surprised. But it actually played really well for his character.
Yeah.
It worked really well for his character.
Yeah.
And he did make, desperate measures when he saw Ryan Gosling looking so great. He did try and compete for a moment.
That's a tough battle.
Yeah.
For all of us. Sir.
I had the impression that before the writer's strike of 2008, a writer could come to Hollywood with a spec script, and if it connects with someone, they would buy it, then maybe rewrite it with their own writers, and then put it out. But after the writer's strike, the trend seems to be to hire talented writers as staff writers, and then they feed the material to them if the studios want, and therefore you have to kind of be content to be a writer. And is the alternative now to maybe, if you want to do something you've written the way you want it done, to do it as a director and to take that chance of being brand new at something that's so complex as being a director to make it work?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's right that it's increasingly hard to. It's like getting a job in a bar when you're 18 or 21 here. You can't get a job in a bar unless you've worked in a bar before, but you can't work in a bar until you're of age to work in a bar. So it's that. Definitely, and in fact, a lot of comedies I find, one now more and more people that I'm communicating, like comedies that we're looking for, comedies that we might have in development. that is a genre where it's a great opportunity for if people have written a really funny script, no one's going to understand that material better than them. To actually support them with the right people. I see more and more of that happening in that space, but it's certainly true that getting on that ladder, I mean, certainly as a filmmaker, as a first-time filmmaker, is really, really tough unless it's your own material and you're refusing to, you know, let anyone else go. But that might be a long road. So I don't know if that answers your question, but
just trying to break in.
yeah,
I think is really
it's
the
very,
question.
it is no question it is, and I hadn't really thought about that. The writers' strike leading. I wasn't here before the writers' strike. I came here, in fact, right at the beginning of the writers' strike, and I do have a lot of friends who then went into staff jobs, which has actually held them, as much as they've worked on amazing things, it's held them back for years of getting their own. You can't, as a writer, then you can't, you know, really progress unless you've actually had a film made with a credit.
If you're unknown, writing competitions and that kind of stuff, I mean, how do you attract attention? I mean, do you have any thoughts?
I mean, the Blacklist is a pretty amazing,
right.
I mean, from my opinion, a pretty amazing place to get noticed.
So is LiveRead LA. LiveRead LA is a great spot.
LiveRead LA
Yeah.
is another great opportunity. But then there are a number of places like that where, you know, and certainly it's true that whether that's the UK system or, you know, I'm sure most places around the world will have those competitions as well. The industry reads everything that goes in. You know, I don't think it goes unnoticed. That obviously, you know, if you make the right connection, you have the right representation, that obviously really helps. If you have champions, that really helps. But being part of those conversations, getting feedback, getting honest feedback that, you know, isn't taken too personally as well. You know, like the Blacklist, I know, offers, say, an environment, you know, different to this, but where you'll get script coverage. You can actually get your scripts covered as well.
Yes, you can.
I don't know if LiveRead does that
Yes,
too,
we do.
but
Yeah. Yes, we do.
it's that because having, like, I think having this feedback in terms of, you know, actors actually performing the piece and then having honest response is pretty great.
Yeah, that's why we exist. All right, anyone have one more? Finish it off, or are we done? We're all done. Oh, I see a pair of fingers in the air. Yes. Yeah, that's it.
I just have a quick, I mean, this might be really just a left ball question altogether, but like, I hear a lot about the Chinese market and how there's a lot of co-distribution and co-financing in that market to both get within China and get past the censors. But I have a quick question about India, about how much cooperation in terms of distribution, in terms of cross-pollination of talent and of money is going on. Or is that just a very niche market in itself?
What do you mean? Cross-pollination between, say, Bollywood and Hollywood? Or?
Yeah. I'm kind of curious about that notion.
Very little, really. I think there's very little. In terms of actors that we see, or material, a lot of, you know, international movies play in India, but to a far smaller audience than local Indian films. You know, even films like, say, The Lunchbox, which was much more of a kind of American independent film, but shot in Delhi by an Indian filmmaker with great Indian actors. It was a very different, it was kind of an art house film for the Indian market. And then it travelled outside of that as a festival film. That was one of the first examples of that happening, which was quite interesting, really worth seeing if you haven't seen. But it's certainly a massive market, and a market that really goes to the cinema. They just go to very, very different types of films than the films, say, that we make. The films that are made in America, rather than, say, we make. You know, our films are far more niche there.
Okay.
All right.
You know, even compared to, say, like China, where China, obviously massive populations, but they're going to action movies, you know, with abundance. You know, you don't see as much of that in India.
Okay.
All right, on that note, Alex, thank you so much. you're free to go. A couple of points. Our next competition is open now. Our next reading is March the 19th, and our insider is going to be Brooklyn Weaver, who is a manager, a literary manager. He's actually Mickey Fisher's manager. We've had Mickey. He's the creator of Extant and Reverie on NBC. So he's going to be here March 19. It's open. If you want to submit your scripts now, you can. Yes, we do feedback. I do feedback. I give you all the feedback. I do all the feedback for our competition. So when we have a busy month, we don't see much of Tim. But I also do more personal consulting if you want to discuss an idea or have other things to do. And then look out, we're in our current workshop at the moment. Thank you. A couple of our workshop people are here. They can tell you what we do. We do a workshop where we give the writers exercises and we have actors come in and read them each week. So it's constant interaction between actors and writers. And the point is to work on emotional connection. Because after reading all these scripts, we're noticing that people are really good at moving characters on story-wise from A to B to C to D, but not really good at telling us how they feel about it, which means you kind of read it and you don't really connect. Yeah. So we're trying to do that. And I think we're working, aren't we? It's helping? Yes. Yeah. So, we'll be launching another one of those, I think, in March. So stay tuned. But anyway, thank you so much for coming, and we'll see you next time. And thank you, Alex. Bye.